All right, thanks everybody for attending this afternoon. The Best Roofer Marketing webinar, how to build a roofing company marketing budget. So really excited to get in and break down the importance of not only having a marketing budget, but a proper marketing plan. Today's agenda, we're going to go through what are your clear goals, really defining those goals. How much should you be spending? We're going to elaborate on where you should allocate your budget based on the size company you are, what some of the objectives are, the mission that you're trying to accomplish. And then lastly, we're going to break down how exactly to maximize your return on investment. So without further ado, what are my clear goals, right? When you're thinking about marketing and starting to identify your marketing budget, you have to begin with the end in mind. We started Best Roofer Marketing with a plan for the future. That plan can pivot or change, but we imagine that you started your roofing company with the same thing. So marketing needs a number of factors to be successful. And the first and foremost, we believe, is predicated on having a solid goal in mind. And when you think about identifying your goals, think of it through the eyes of what you really want to accomplish with your marketing. You need to have a clear purpose to define what it is you're going after. When you think about marketing, you need to have a valid timeline. So when do you want to achieve it by? Just saying, I want to be a $20 million company, or I want to have 10 sales guys in South Georgia, whatever that is, you need to put a timeline around it so that can increase the level of accountability. This is very important. Marketing needs a why. You need to really ask yourself, how seriously are you committed to achieving your goals that you're identifying? In the very beginning, before you ever spend $1 on marketing, you need to understand what your purpose is and what that why looks like. Oftentimes companies will start off and they're very reactive. They're looking at what the competition is doing and they're just spit-firing money and they're throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping that something's going to stick. And that's not a methodical plan. And that's not really having a why around your marketing purpose. You need to understand how you're going to get there. Are you going to try to be a do-it-yourself or a DIY roofer that moonlights as a marketer? Are you going to hire a professional? And if you are going to hire a professional, what is that going to look like? Is that a small team? Is that a big team? Is that a generalist marketing agency? Is that a niche marketing agency that understands roofing more deeply? So you really want to identify that. And lastly, you need a pathway on how to get there, because digital marketing, guys, can be a game changer when you have clear objectives and a clear path to achieve your goals. But digital marketing for roofers is expensive, right? It's one of the top online marketing industries for digital marketing and the amount of money spent annually outside of like personal injury attorneys, right? So roofing is competitive. And the goal of this today is to help set you up for success so you're not wasting critical dollars to help you achieve your goals. So from there, once you have your path needs to be laid out and you need to map out your goals. So I've had the privilege to build a top performing sales team at a $2 billion marketing agency for 5 years in a row. And a lot of the takeaways that I inherited in that time was refining our processes. And one of the things that we found a lot of value in was writing down our goals and putting clarity around them. That word clarity is really important because it allows you to go deep and granular in what your goals are and how you're going to get there. It also puts it in a perspective of self-accountability. Then you really need to have 2 review scenarios. You need to review your progress towards your goals on a regular basis with your team. We recommend at least having a quarterly all hands meeting with your team where you keep everybody in the organization, in your roofing company, aligned with what the goals are, what the strategies are, and how the company is progressing to get there, because this is going to obtain everybody's buy-in to support the mission. So you don't want to write off the young lady at the office desk that's answering the phones, or maybe the new sales guy that just joined the team. Everybody has an important role as you build your marketing empire for your roofing company. And it's important to update them regularly on the progress towards where the company is going. Additionally, you want to set clear expectations with your marketing team. In this scenario, assuming that you're going to hire or retain a marketing agency, you want to ask them questions around how are they going to help you achieve your goals, not just what products or services do they have that are really cool and flashy and can I afford to buy them. So we'll expand on that here in a little bit. You want to hold your marketing team accountable to the commitments made during the sales process. So I've sold a lot of digital marketing over the last 16 years. And I've had teams that have sold, millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of digital marketing. One of the things that I've encountered, a horror story that I've continued to hear over the last 16 years from not just roofing company owners, but small businesses in general, are they get sold a bill of goods up front and there's no accountability after the contract is signed. So this isn't a sales pitch and it's not about best roofer marketing, but when you think about these things, when you're looking at the partner, you want to have a partner that you can reach and hold accountable to everything that they've agreed to in the beginning. Make sure that that continues throughout the entire relationship. And lastly, as you're mapping out your goals, you want to pivot where necessary. Now, we say this with caution. It's important to be flexible enough to pivot, but you want to make sure that you're not doing it too often and not doing it based on emotional decisions. Let data drive the strategic direction of your company. Go into it with the numbers and a team that's going to help you understand and interpret the numbers. So roofer marketing has a lot of similarities, but let me be clear. Digital roofer marketing in Atlanta is totally different than it is in Tampa, Florida, where I'm from, or in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Each market has its own types of product, its own geography, its own wealth, its own buying cycles, its own population, its own competition. So the strategy has to vary based on where you are in the country and what you want to achieve. So we'll pivot here and we'll get a little bit deeper into, well, the first question we often get asked is, how much should I spend? So again, guys, this is a strategic play and there's not an open-ended answer to this. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer to this either. How much you should spend, there are some parameters, best practices, and averages that we're going to cover with you. But how much you should spend largely depends on a number of factors that we're going to go into in just a few minutes. But think about it like this. Your budget should be derived from what your goals are that you want to achieve and the reality of the marketing paying for itself. Now, if you look at this question answered at the general level from the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they recommended spending between 7 to 8% of your gross revenues on marketing and advertising if you're under 5 million. Roofing industry experts surveyed reported that the average roofing company spends a minimum of 10% of their top line on advertising if they're up to a $10 million roofing company. There's also statistics out there from the SBA that say in 2019, the average money spent on marketing as a whole across all B2C service-related industries was 11.8%. So when you think about 7 to 8, 11.8, 12%, 10% is kind of right in the middle. And that falls in line with what we're going to use for today's scenario as an average marketing budget for a roofing company. So we're going to break this down and we're going to look at a scenario on how much you should spend. Again, if you're a $1 million company, you have an 80% or an 8%, $80,000 minimum off the top that you should be allocating towards marketing if you want to grow. And again, that's going to fluctuate based on the data in the marketplace and what the industry calls for and what the statistics tell us. But you want to think about this. If somebody's approaching you and promising you the world for $500 a month or $1,500 a month, or Angie, your home advisor, that will take whatever budget you have, you want to temper your expectations with reality. Because the reality is, in digital marketing, the cost for a good qualified phone call, we don't like the word lead, but a good qualified phone call is about $250 to $300, depending on the market that you're in. So the good news is, if you have a fairly decent closing ratio and you can close 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3, maybe 1 out of 4 good quality phone calls, you're now selling a $12, $13, $15, $20,000 roof for $600 to $1,000 cost per acquisition. It's a pretty good return on investment, but you have to allocate enough dollars to compete, or no marketing agency, one, they shouldn't take your money, but then two, if they do take your money, they're not really going to drive the success that you're looking for. So going from how much you should spend, we're going to really look at how you can maximize your dollars. So we see 5 core pillars from a digital footprint on ways that you should strategically spend your money. That's your website, It's content marketing. Content can mean a number of things we're going to break down in a couple of slides. Search engine optimization, ads, of course, and then reputation and reputation management. So when we look at going into each one of these unique and individually, how you can maximize your dollars, first and foremost, it is ads. So at the end of the day, guys, there's no guesswork here. Ads are going to drive phone calls. Phone calls equal trips to the bank. So you have to get more high quality phone calls coming into your roofing company. When you have cracked the partnership that will help drive a steady stream of new phone calls regularly to your business, you're in a really good spot. So if we look at using the scenario of a $5 million B2C company, and we look at we're spending 40% of your 10% average budget, that should go towards ads. So now that we've identified your marketing budget, 40% of that number should be spent on ads, and these are the ad recommendations that we have. This slide will break down the old adage, creative versus directional marketing. So creative marketing, guys, is like billboards, going to your local chamber of commerce or BNI networking group, putting out your content on social media, asking for referrals. That's creative marketing. You're getting your name out there, you're raising your hand, and you're saying, hey, I'm Joe Smith's roofing company. We serve Atlanta, and we're here when you need us, right? And there's value in that. But then there's directional marketing. And directional marketing is taking somebody who needs your services in that micro moment, in that very point in time. They walk through their front door, they put their keys on the counter, they sit down to dinner with their family, and they get hit in the forehead with a drop of water because they have a leak in their single-story home. They have an immediate need, and their shopping patterns are different. And one, no time in the history of the world has anybody ever had that scenario happen and then say, let me get on my phone and troll Facebook until the algorithm shows me that ad I saw a month ago. It's not how it works. They pull out their device, either talk or type in roofer near me, and the first one that picks up the phone when they're in crisis mode will typically win. So we recommend Google ads at the top, and based on the size of your company and the marketing budget that you have for your roofing company, then you can divide across the other platforms additional information or additional products and services into social ads, retargeting ads, video ads, branding, and then of course offline ads do carry some value. So once we move past ads, we're going to talk a little bit about content. We believe that you should be spending up to 15% of your marketing budget on content creation. So picking back up on content. So again, this is your social media, your images, infographics, blogs, videos, collateral. But you've heard the creation that out of your marketing budget, content is king, and there's truth in that. So the more intuitive content you can put out there, the better conversions you're going to have. Next up, we have search engine optimization. So SEO is something that we highly recommend and strongly encourage you to seek the advice of a professional, because SEO is imperative. I'll give you guys a short story. When I was 18, I had a professional job at Capital One, probably making $40,000–$45,000 a year. And I got some great advice from my folks. They said, listen, if you invest as much as you possibly can into your 401k, by the time you're 40, you could be over a millionaire. And that was true. The problem is I didn't listen to them at that time, but your SEO is very similar to your 401k. SEO should not be a luxury item. When you get your website ranking and you start to appear organically on page 1 of Google for relevant terms in your marketplace, you start to receive a tremendous amount of additional phone calls that are not costing you every time you get clicked on, that are not costing you every time someone calls you. And it is a true game changer for your business. Your website's imperative, right? Your website is the epicenter of all of your marketing. Everything that you have out there, from ads to social to online directories to your Google listing, it all should tie back to your website. We encourage our customers to spend up to 10% of their marketing budget just on their website, keeping it safe, keeping it secure, keeping it up to date, keeping it in compliance with the most recent algorithms and so forth. But you can't, gone are the days of having a website, sitting it out there, letting it ride for 10 years, not doing anything to it, and expecting it to work. Your website has to be fast, it has to be secure, and it has to meet certain parameters that Google and the other search engines like Bing and DuckDuckGo set forth in order for you to be visible to your clients, and that's period. And then lastly, out of our 5 pillars, we have reputation. So we recommend spending up to 19% of your marketing budget just on reputation. That's asking for reviews, that's keeping a high review standard, that's responding to reviews, that's using automation and technology to garner additional reviews, and keeping your social presence strong online. Because individuals right now that are shopping online, whether it's for a new car or a roofing company, they are a lot savvier than we are giving them credit for. And they can hit your website, look at your social media presence, look at your online reviews, and tally that stuff up within 5 to 10 seconds. It doesn't take them long to form an opinion about you. So you want to be professional and buttoned up everywhere you go. If you have a social media page on Facebook, you want to make sure that you have a properly sized banner and that you look professional when they hit it. Because all of these things you're being judged against go into the professionalism, the attention to detail, the quality of work that you do for your marketing can be perceived as the quality of work that you will or will not do on that homeowner's home. So it's imperative to spend and invest in your reputation. Next, we're going to segue into where you should allocate your budget, right? Again, going back to the scenario that we're going to break down today, we're going to use a hypothetical $5 million B2C roofing company with an average budget. So on the simple math, $500,000 a year, roughly $40,000 a month in marketing for a $5 million company that's looking to grow. Where you should spend your money, we break it down into light items, and then we're going to go further and we're going to talk towards the difference between labor, technology, hiring an agency, media, and how all of those can impact that marketing budget. But when you think about where you should spend it, again, we told you that 40% should be spent on ads. So that's Google, Facebook, and then Instagram, LinkedIn, depending on your audience, depending on how much of a percentage of your business is commercial, you may have some success on LinkedIn. If you're primarily residential, that may not be the right play for you. And the next in content, you would be looking at spending about $75,000 on video, blogs, industry events, that sort of thing. Search engine optimization, again, that's both on-site and off-site because there are 2 major components to that. Your website, keeping it up with speed tech, your user experience, user interface, conversion page optimization. There's a million things that go into having a proper website, and you should have an allocation of your annualized marketing budget dedicated just to covering that. And then lastly, you got reviews, automation, social media. This all goes into your reputation and reputation management. So taking it a step further, again, we're going to look at these in 4 phases. You have to pay somebody to do the work. You have to harness the power of technology. You can hire an agency, which is an extension of your team. And then, of course, you need to pay directly into media. So using the same numbers from before, if you have a $2,000 ads budget, you want to ask yourself this question, so jot this down. When you are potentially hiring a marketing agency, you want to ask them, is their management a flat rate retainer, or do they take a percentage of spend? And here's why. We're going to see in a future slide that your average percentage of spend management fee can be anywhere as low as 20% up to 35% of your marketing dollars. So on the high end of that, if you have a $2,000 annualized budget for ads, these are ads driving business to your roofing company. This is what's making the phone ring right out of the gate. If you have a 35% management fee, your $200 or $200,000 marketing budget has been sliced down by $70,000, right? So now you have $130,000 actually going to ads, $70,000 going to the manager of those ads. The challenge with that is, and I learned this in corporate America, and that's why we wanted to do things differently. We charge a flat rate retainer based on your monthly spend, because in this scenario, you can call up and we could potentially tell you to turn your budget down or turn off certain groups. The goal is not just to spend your money. The goal is to manage your money as though it were ours. If you have a percentage of spend, think about this. You call up said marketing agency or ads manager and say, hey, I know we pay you 20% of our ad spend, and things are going really good. What do we do? They're going to tell you to increase your budget. In the same scenario, you call up and you say, man, the phone's not ringing. I'm spending a lot of money and I'm just not seeing the conversions. What's the problem? The answer is always going to be raise your budget. You could legitimately call them up and say, guys, I stumped my toe today and said some profound words in front of my wife and kids, and I'm embarrassed about it. And they're going to say, man, I'm sorry to hear that. You should raise your budget, because there's a financial gain in that model versus a flat rate retainer does not have a financial gain. If you are told to turn your budget up or turn your budget down, it's based on the data in the marketplace, the competition, the population, of what the data is telling that ad manager. And therefore you can take it as truth versus the skeptical version of, hey, I know you're telling me I should spend more money and maybe I should, but you're making more money. So are you really telling me this because it's in my best interest and my company's best interest, or because it's in your best interest? So always remember that flat rate fee versus percentage of spend. Next, in this scenario, we'll talk about content. So content is something that the more unique it is to you, the more creative it is, the better it's going to work. So at Best Roof Marketing, we do build custom websites and lead generation websites for our roofing clients. And one of the things we have always identified is that conversion ratios are better on websites that have real photos from a custom photo shoot of the team. Maybe it's your team on top of a roof and poloed shirts. Maybe it's team pictures at an event. It could be pictures of your fleet or your trucks. When you use real photos versus stock photos, it performs better. Additionally, with content, if you're hiring a marketing agency, which can help you a lot with this, they're not going to be everywhere at all times. So you might be at the Chamber of Commerce gala that you're going to receive an award. You want to go live on Facebook or take some photos from that event. You need to have somebody on your team as a part of that labor bracket that can really help you with that content and drive that on a regular basis, because the more in tune it is with your brand and your persona, the better it's going to perform. When you go down to your SEO, I mean, again, our recommendation is it's straightforward. Hire an agency or a professional that knows what they're doing. Don't let your wife's sister's cousin's daughter who just graduated with a marketing degree from the local university drive your SEO for your business, guys. You really need to invest in a team of experts on this, because it is technical. This is not something that somebody can pick up. You can't just go to YouTube, do a course on search engine optimization and become an expert overnight. If it were that simple, everybody would be ranking. There would be no page 2. So keep that in mind. Your website can be broken down into 3 different components. Some of it's going to be labor in-house to make updates, to keep things squared away. Some of it's going to be your agency, your hosting, your management, your maintenance, your security. Some of it's going to be technology, right? If you're integrating Podium, or if you're integrating AccuLinks, or some of these industry specific tools to help automate your business, you need to allocate some budget towards the integration of that in your website, whether it's the monthly software cost, whether it's the tool, updating the widgets, making sure that things don't break, making sure that they're all in alignment with the end goal of how you want to manage that cycle. And then lastly, your reputation. Again, reputation is key. And for companies that are north of 3 to 5 million, we see a lot of times the ones that do best have a marketing manager. This can be a younger individual who's savvy and is growing up the ranks of marketing to do a lot of things in-house for you with regards to your reputation and your social awareness. But again, there's tools and technology out there to help automate the process. And of course, an agency can help you with some of that. But you want to take a look at the marketing budget and the marketing plan and really think through all of these factors that you need to account for. And if you're spending to hire somebody internally, that's less money that you can spend on ads or elsewhere. So you want to account for all of it as a whole, not just find yourself in the hamster wheel of, hey, I see the new shiny object, I'm excited about it, I want to just allocate some money and turn it on real fast, and if it doesn't work in a couple of days, I'm going to turn it back off. That's not a good strategy for your roofing company. So these are some labor industry statistics and some averages. They're generalized at the national level, so they can vary by market, but this is just to give you an example of what some of these individuals are getting in 2021, 2022 for their current salaries. If you have just an ad specialist, not even a manager level, you're looking at almost $60,000. Whereas you could pay upwards for an SEO director, depending on the size of your company, that can yield right around $100,000 in income. So these are technical positions that you want to account for. And you really want to weigh the risk reward of hiring somebody in-house that knows what they're doing, not just putting somebody in a role, versus outsourcing and hiring an agency. And we're not saying we're the best or the worst out there. There's a lot of good agencies, and there's a handful of good ones that know roofer marketing. So we're in the mix of some good company. But what I would say is sometimes it's going to be more expensive to hire an agency. Oftentimes it's going to be more expensive to hire somebody in-house that knows what they're doing, not just filling a role. And that's the caveat there. So again, we'll send out this deck after as a replay for you to really look at that as you weigh this and break this down. The next thing you want to break down is technology and what are the costs. A lot of times individuals have heard the term freemium. Freemium is basically the hook to get you in. So you'll be scrolling Facebook yourself as a company owner, and you'll have a very targeted ad relevant to something in your business that's a problem you want to solve for. Maybe it's a Monday board or workflow automation. They're going to give you the opportunity to sign up for free almost 99% of the time, knowing that it's not going to do very much for your business. Professional versions, however, you could allocate anywhere from 5 to 10 grand a year just for several users on your team to have access. I'll give you an example. We are a partner. We're one of only 4 agency partners of Company Cam. So if any of you have used Company Cam before, it's a StreamFlow app to help automate picture taking, and it has a lot of cool technology, including capturing latitude, longitude coordinates, and things that as an agency we can use. Technically, we find very valuable because it can help that information give you an edge over some of the competition. But they have these free versions, they have the low paid versions, and then they have enterprise level versions. So just keep that in mind that SaaS can be really cool, software as a service, but it does come at a cost, and it should be included in your marketing budget. We're going to break down an agency, and this will just give you some generalized examples of what individuals can charge as digital marketers. As we told you before, we are a flat fee, not a percentage of spend, but the going rates are 20 to 35% of your ads budget can be spent just on management. Content creators can vary depending on the skill sets that you want to actually pay for and who you want to hire for. But these are some real job board salaries that are available, $180,000 for professional home service content creators. It's insane, but content is king, and you need to find a way to be able to afford it, account for it in your budget, and not break the bank. So we're going to break down now your marketing budget across the media spend. Again, as we covered earlier in the presentation, there is directional versus creative. And again, to recap, creative marketing, that's top of mind awareness. So that's your Facebook, that's your Instagram, LinkedIn, that's your TV, that's your offline or billboards, local community magazines, etc. And then there's your directional, the hot buyer coming to you because they have a need right now for your product or service that you're offering. So our allocation, depending on the budget, is very top heavy on Google when and where it's applicable. Now, again, as I shared, roofers spend more on average than most small businesses out there outside of some legal, because the cost is set based on 3 varying factors. One, Google sets the price point because they're the world's largest data aggregator. So they know more about you, me, your business than anybody would care to admit. But the truth is they're collecting data all day long. They know that you're out here selling 12, 15, 20,000, $100,000 commercial job roofs. Therefore, they set the prices accordingly. Secondly, is the geography you're in and the population density of that geography, right? So we have no control over where you live and where you set up shop, but it's going to fluctuate. Advertising in Miami or Tampa can be a lot more expensive than advertising in a small city in the Midwest, right? It's just based on the population density, the metropolis. Are you going in? We're in the Atlanta area. So are you going into the city of Atlanta versus just staying in the outskirts? Are you trying to cover all of North Georgia, or are you just looking for a pocket? Those things come into play in the pricing. And then the third factor is your competition. Every market's different, and every market has different competition levels. So in some cases, you may be in a highly competitive market where people are spending a tremendous amount of money, and you have to ask yourself, do you want to get into that ring and fight for those customers, or do you want to find another approach to growing your business because the competition is just spending a tremendous amount of money that maybe you're not prepared for? But the bottom line is, when you're breaking down media spend, we are very top heavy on Google because we know that Google will make the phone ring when our customers are getting new phone calls that are closable of people looking for replacements, repairs, storm damage repair, commercial jobs, metal roofs, whatever their specialty is. They typically stick with us for a very long time because they are making a significant return on that investment and they know they have a team to keep them safe. So we're going to provide this budget breakdown and we're going to blank it out and we're going to give you this tool for all those that attended today, along with your virtual lunch that we're going to be sending for the first 10 that registered and attended today. This is a tool for you just to grid line and really start to look at the granularity of your marketing budget, allocate that, and then see if there are any areas of opportunity that maybe you hadn't thought about or that you had missed, but you want to keep yourself safe with a marketing budget and keep yourself streamlined. So again, when you think through this, think about the 5 core pillars with your website being the foundation. Content is key, your organic SEO, your ads, and your reputation management. And lastly, this is a big takeaway. Your manufacturers want you to successfully sell their products. So look for co-op dollars. If you don't know what that is, go to bestroofingmarketing.com or ask your current agency now how to potentially get co-op dollars. You can call your TSM, your territory sales manager. If you're a GAF, OC, Certainty, Atlas, they all have them at varying levels depending on who you are and what level of affiliation you are within their product line. Try to get co-op dollars to help cover some of your marketing because again, they will support the investments in the things like your website and your ad budget to help you sell more of their shingles or metal roof or whatever the case may be. We always like to say the old adage, it's not that you have to spend money to make money, but we pivoted into it's that you have to spend money wisely to build a healthy business that'll provide for you and your family into eternity. So we hope you enjoyed today's webinar, guys. We will open it up for just a couple of questions if anybody has any questions now. Otherwise, feel free to reach out. You can visit our website and book 30 minutes with us, and we would be happy to discuss your business needs, and anything that we can do to assist you.